One, and we are live with Daniel Powers Jr. He is the founder at Real Brave. He's bringing a Main Street mindset to the C-suite, becoming an empowering leader to 10x growth. He's in New York. I'm in Oaxaca, Mexico. This is going to be a fun one. This podcast is presented to you by podpire.com. If you want to launch your podcast, monetize it, generate leads with podcasts, you can go to podpire.com. I can help you do that. Dan, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Sure, Charles. I run three locations here in New York. It's a music studio to teach lessons, and we also have an online suite for lessons as well. We developed a whole platform for teaching online. I believe the future really is there. Heck, who wants to pay $50,000 a month in rent where you can just pay like $200 a month in rent for an online suite?
Right. How did you get started?
It was 21 years ago. So yes, unfortunately I'm old. And I started a brick and mortar here in the city. I was looking for an opportunity to do something different, leave a mark, starting a family. So I started in the brick and mortar area and was fortunate enough to be in the emerging kind of scene where this was a good business to be in, and took advantage of AdWords in the early days to grow the business. Obviously, that's changed a lot. And then about 6 years ago, we started moving towards apps and development.
Okay, tell me about the apps and development side of things. And when you mentioned that you're doing things online right now, you're doing online lessons, right? Tell us a
Yeah,
bit more about the business model.
sure. Um, I can't help this. Are you on a walking treadmill, like a desk treadmill?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. It's either that or you're dancing. I don't know which one. So the online suite is got a live video functionality to it, and we're able to, instead of use Zoom, we have our own kind of branded classroom online, and then we also kind of perfected certain skills that, uh, ways to track student skills, and also to put content in there so that students can see what they're working on, as well as different ways to see how well they're doing. So it's a game changer in a lot of ways.
And how have you grown revenue since you've switched from brick and mortar to fully online?
Well, my story is, and well, the story of this place is definitely affected by COVID. Uh, we were definitely on a different track in 2019. It was more of I would say the platform was more of a moonlight type thing. And if you're familiar with what the world was like here in New York City in 2020, you would understand that it was complete chaos. We moved completely online in 2020, so it forced us to use that a lot more. But since then, it's probably about 10% to 15% of our revenue right now, and growing. So it's like the fastest growing part of our business, I would say, because we're able to move nationally.
Right. And okay, so scale more lessons potentially. How does that happen in practice? Like, let's say I want to learn how to play guitar. How can you coach me fully online? Do you have the camera on where my fingers are? Because music is sort of 3D spatial. So, how do you make it as good, if not better, online than in person physically?
That's a great question. So first and foremost, it is camera position, number one. And we've identified a few instruments that are better. Not the others are fine too, but we're just better at guitar, piano, drums, vocals. And as far as the making it so that it's an adaptive and emerging and a very immersive experience, it's really all about the ability to record parts and then show back what it is that you're supposed to be doing. So in recording those parts, you've got very specific ways that we show you how to do something, and then the student can go home, watch it back. It's kind of like getting your own personal YouTube channel. too. So not only do you get the live lesson like this, where we're talking to each other live, but you're asking questions and then the instructor can record those parts for you. So that's what makes it a little bit more immersive and, in fact, a little bit better than in-person lessons.
How do you get your clients? Like, who's your ICP? Is it still kids trying to learn, or there's also adults? And then where do you get these folks? What platform do you use for advertising?
We're going to a couple of different places. We've got our social platforms, which are pretty engaged. We're very engaged on a couple different avatars. So number one would be looking for adults. So that, believe it or not, is definitely a new market for us. Number two would be still the families of kids, speaking to the parent, basically. But I would say another way that we really are growing is through this new emerging part of schooling, which would be homeschool, charter schools, things where you're looking just for, it's like alt schooling basically, and you're looking for different ways to learn.
I had the biggest guitar learning app CEO on my podcast. He's in Israel, I believe. What were your thoughts on using apps like that? And me, I come from Guitar Hero times. What are your thoughts on using technology to help people learn instruments better?
You can't escape it. You can't get away from it. It's everywhere. You got to use it. So apps are important. I was so bad at Rock Band, just because I play guitar, so like it's not the same thing. You know what I mean? But in that way, we all use the different tuning apps for guitar, so that works. As far as other technology, play along technology is fantastic. It's all great. There's plenty of platforms out there that you can play along with somebody, whether it's on YouTube or if it's any of these kind of like play along with apps. There's tons of them. Won't name them, but you can use that in the beginning, and then eventually, I think just like anything else, you will hit a wall, and that's when something like this comes into play, because then you can really hit the ground running. So something like what we offer at a certain point, yeah, you're going to need help to ask questions, because you can't ask an app a question until AI kind of takes over. Maybe you can start asking questions, but for now, I think a human being still is necessary.
Yeah, right. I think, yeah, just GPT, and I'm pretty sure GPT can also, like, if you use the function to call it, it can give you feedback on how you played and so forth. With a couple of tweaks, I think that would be a potential opportunity there. I think a bunch of people might be onto it. Is there still good money to make, like, on selling the actual equipment? For example, right? Was it the Gibson guitars? Like, that guy made a whole bunch of money. Like,
I'll say.
is there still like money to be made in the physical instrument industry? Is there like a new instrument that people are playing, for example?
You mean retail?
Yeah, or
Yeah.
for example, right? Pickleball in the world of sports is all the trend right now. It's crazy. Like, it makes a whole bunch of money. Is there such a thing in the music world?
In this area, there was a major retail outlet called Sam Ash who just went out of business. They tried to compete online, didn't work. Guitar Center is a company that was publicly traded and then was bought out by Bain Capital. And then I don't know if you're
That
familiar
went
with
pretty
Bain Cap.
bad too. Like, I think
Yeah.
they bankrupt.
Well, part of their business strategy is to buy a company and then saddle them with debt of the money that they purchase it with, and then they operate with that payment, right? It works out for some companies. I think they bought Staples. That's one of the companies they did with. Anyway, for Guitar Center, they're still saddled with a lot of debt, so the jury's still out whether or not they're going to make it long term. You have Sweetwater. They do very well. They're very service based. They know what they're talking about, which is the opposite of Guitar Center. If you go to Guitar Center, sorry, Guitar Center, you guys don't know what you're talking about for the most part. And is it growing? It's not for me to say. I've been to NAMM. They're always saying that the industry is doing really well for mom and pops. We stopped selling instruments here about 10 years ago. It's not worth it, because you can go on Amazon and get the same thing for 30% less. So it doesn't really make sense for us.
I think probably turning tables some time ago, and also like if I would launch something in the music space a couple of years ago, 5, 10 years would have been Logic Pro. I think that software made a whole bunch of money. Apple acquired it, I believe, even, and tried to integrate it to their GarageBand. I think, again, not sure about
Yep.
that one. I think nowadays what's interesting is like AI music, right? For creators like myself that want to create a beat rapidly, we want to give it a suggestion. Oh, make the beat similar to that song. Then taking my existing content, create some lyrics about X, Y, Z, and then next thing you know, you could have a beat, right? It's not as good as the real thing, as like a beat that has been filmed in a studio. Plus, you still need to figure out the promotion, right? But I think it'd be pretty decent, pretty fun. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I see nothing wrong with that. Is there like a mark like a an actual tangible offer there that someone would want to pay for is a different story. But music making is one of the most invigorating, the most fun things that I've ever done. And once people start using Rock Band and all these great tools, really, they're just tools to record music. That's why it's everywhere. That's why everybody's got their own Spotify. That's why I sent you that link because I don't really play anymore. But yeah, I have my own Spotify part, and it's every once in a while I'll sit down to write a song. Um, yeah,
You think AI music is why Guetta and Bieber sold their full music library some time ago?
um, did I think AI what?
Do you think AI music, the coming of that, do you think that is because, or justifying in part why David Guetta and Justin Bieber sold their music library a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I don't have the answer to this. I could speculate just as a frustrated musician from years ago. I can tell you that the music industry was centered around a record uh, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. That turned into 40 years ago. That turned into compact discs that from tapes actually, and then to compact discs. And at some point, with streaming, that median to sell a product, which was crazy profitable, went away. So people are selling their catalogs because if they've already made their money. The Snoop Dogs of the world, like there's not a lot of ways to make money these days that on that level. Now, if you're someone just starting out, the Spotify CEO has said famously he wants to create X that 100,000 or millions of artists who earn $50,000 a year, which honestly, if we take away the politics of it, is a noble idea. As an artist from 20, 30 years ago, that's awesome. I would love to do that, but like the Snoop Dogs, the Katy Perry's, all these people that are selling their catalogs, yeah, there's no more money to make at that level. Like they just have to get out. They're going to cash out. They're going to do their tours, probably still make some of the performance royalties, and they're done. So it's the industry is changing significantly, and we're here as teachers to kind of bring back uh, that feeling. Show them what it was like to listen to these songs. Because in this day and age, without CDs, tapes, records, and all you have is just online, that lore has to be passed down through a teacher. That lore has to be passed down through someone that's so passionate about something that they can tell you and show you, like, look, here is the artwork for this thing, and look at these lyrics, and this is what it means to me. And that kind of culture is a little bit lost with streaming because you're not able to see that.
What do you tell the kids that you teach? Do you encourage them to go try and make some money with music, or do you tell them the more realistic side of things, which is that, yeah, like maybe, I don't know, do a hobby if you're really talented, 10x on it, but also just be a fun hobby?
We've gotten to the level where there are students going off to college, and we do internships here. And I have coached, along with some of the managers here, I've coached some of the students to tell them to show them where they will make their money. Teaching is one way they would make money. Performing, you make money too. Like, as long as you're in the right area to actually make the money, you can. The teaching is really where you can make a lot of money doing that. I'd also say that there is money in production per se, but in very specific types of production, podcasts, editing videos. You know, video is huge right now. I'm sure you know you're a creator, so that's an avenue too. So combining video with audio is certainly a direction for young people today, I would say.
Love that. And okay, your objectives as the founder of the company this year, like where do you want to grow the company yourself?
Well, now that we're finally emerging from this nightmare of the past 5 years, so we're back in business again. So yeah, it's 10x where we are right now. We're about 1.8 million in revenue, so we want to 10x that. But the strategy really is online, I would say, because we're local. So even in Manhattan, you're in a very small area. You can't. It's hard to 10x when you're in that type of situation. With rents these days, it's hard to 10x in place unless you're opening. Our one business plan a couple of years ago was to open 10 locations, which in theory would 10x you. But now with online, you can do it anywhere. So we've got students in Alaska, Arizona, Florida, Texas, California, North Carolina, Missouri. You know, they're all over the place, and more coming.
Yeah, maybe use the data that you get online. And I'm not sure the scale of your online ops, but yeah, just that as an indicator of where you should open, right? Because messing up a brick and mortar is really costly. Plus, anytime that you open a branch, you'll incur like big costs, right? And equipment, probably like 50 to 100K easy. I'm guessing you're renting too, right? You're not like buying the full thing.
Yeah, it's rent, and with I chuckle because I see there's so much there's a huge push in entrepreneurship these days, and people saying that they're a founder of a company on their Twitter X account, on Instagram. That's great. It's all cool, and I would encourage them to stay there simply because, like, for here at this place I'm at right now, you've got overhead. You got $11,000 rent, plus it took us, you know, X that $100,000 to actually open it up. We've got employees. We've got a lot of stuff. So this is certainly the harder way to do stuff, and that's why businesses fail, because it's hard to look at the future. In our Manhattan location, we pre COVID, our outlook was, much higher than this, because you've got 50,000 people all on top of each other there with decent incomes. Post COVID, we had to change it because a lot of people moved. The thing about owning your personal brand, if that's what you're doing out there, you have the ability to pivot a little quicker because you don't have that overhead. And I certainly think if I had to do it all over again, 20 years ago, I'd probably do it a little bit different. But you can't see the future unless you can, Charles. Because if you can, then I'm flying down to Mexico, and we're going to become best friends.
I can see parts of it. I mean, it's a skill that you practice, and then you're wrong a lot of times too.
Oh yeah,
I can see a glimpse of a micro niche, but I can't see the full picture for sure. Yeah, I think like becoming a creator of some kind, right? Like having a TikTok account and a YouTube account, and then getting millions and millions of views, and then being like, hey, here's my link. I can personally teach you how to play guitar for $500 an hour. There you go. I mean, that's like instantly profitable, right?
yeah. No, that's a great point. The past year, I've spent a lot of time on content marketing because in the world of click marketing and traditional marketing, it has changed. That's a whole nother story. But in the world of our content marketing, let's take our Instagram account for instance. Last week we had 3 million accounts reached. Okay, for instance. So like as a creator, you're going, wow, right? 3 million accounts reached. Out of that, there was 25,000 profile clicks. So as a creator, you're like, wow, that's great. But guess what? Out of that 25,000, this is just the past week, only 24 people clicked on an actual offer. So you have to remember that these things that we're doing do over time provide results, but you would think that with the 3 million engagements that we had, we would do a little bit better. But it does take time to do this, those engagements will turn into dollars over time. But so just you got to
If you
keep
follow
at it.
up.
You gotta stay with it.
If you follow up, else it's just pure wasted money. But I think the way to view it, like these big platforms, there's so much competition, right? You're not only competing against other musical school, but like artists and all kinds of people that want their ads in their face, So you really need to pick an asymmetric platform. For example, nowadays I may be testing Twitter ads. And then, just like you said, I have a deeper objective than just instant conversion, right? First, I just want people to subscribe to my Twitter profile. And then I have this experimental mindset. It's not a budget that I'm attached to get results. If I don't get results, I don't mind. I have like 10 other channels that are rewarding me right now. The first and foremost being cold email in my case, because I do B2B, right? But yeah, there's a lot of competition and you need to test probably like 10 before you get one that will work out. And yeah, that is tiring. You need to be patient. You need to have hope as a business owner. Else you're just like, oh shit, here we go again. Another $1,000 wasted.
And I got tired of that whole thing of paying agencies. So I basically opened my own agency in-house where we're doing all of the content marketing. We do our click marketing too. But to go back to my point of before, you figure within those 3 million engagements, you'd get, people would be like ecstatic. I want followers. I want this. I want that. Well, followers and likes don't mean anything. You talk to me about the millions of people out there that have millions of followers, right? Or hundreds of thousands of followers, and they can't sell a t-shirt. So it's important to talk to the right customers, have the right content. And I know it's like tiresome, but giving it away right now is so important. Giving your free help to get them into your fold. Because I'll put it to you like this too. We have a customer that walks through these doors physically and looks around. It's like, this place is beautiful. It is. It's certainly beautiful. Now, if you do that online, nobody knows what you're going to be offering. Everyone's all suspicious about what you're offering. They don't know who you are. They don't actually physically walk into somewhere. That's why your landing pages are so critical. Your copy is so critical. Like you said, your email list, so critical. Like being able to nurture them and show them you're a real person that has real things to offer them that'll make them, that give them a transformation they'll never forget. So critical.
Yeah, in the case of influencers, one last thing before we go here is that most influencers are good at one thing, and it's influencing. It's generating the hype, right? And impressing they're like a show, right? They're good at getting a show, just like Liberace. But when it comes to making money and running a business, that's a whole other story. One prime example, the Prime Company by Logan Paul, hit by a bunch of lawsuits, and you need that business acumen to make a lot of money. And that's why a bunch of athletes, a bunch of superstar artists, they can't really run their own show. They need a manager because they've gone so good at one thing, and these skills are most of the time not compatible with running a business. They need some help with that. Daniel, thank you for coming on the podcast. Where can people find out more about you?
I would just go straight to realbraveaudio.com and learn a little bit more about me, realbraveaudio.com, but also the 50 people that work here, and primarily, what we do every single day, which is, a positive self-expression for people that want to learn an instrument.
I love that.